I just started and I already forgot something, so I'm gonna have to go get it. Okay. Right, that's what we're about to do. We're about to do this. Before I do that, I forgot my drink. I need my drink. All right. There. Got my drink. That's better. I don't have too long, but I figured I had enough time to come in here and do something. I want to play, but damn, I'm tired. And then Seth has his stream tonight, so I don't plan to make this all that long, honestly.
Dr. Tarnus is the least of our worries, General. The stolen data files had details, not only on the planet prison, but every weapon prototype and research facility in existence.
Our most powerful experimental weapons, and Black Sun has access to them. How could this happen?
What does Black Sun stand to gain?
They could make a fortune selling secrets to our enemies.
We must act quickly to secure these other weapons. Where are they?
3 off-world research facilities. Minimal defenses to give them a low profile. They're vulnerable.
Master Kiewicz and I will split up and protect 2.
And I'll take the third one.
You get the fun part, rescuing Dr. Tarnus and the copied data files from Black Sun.
Okay.
We'll be back in time for dinner.
Kira will stay behind too. With Agent Galen leaving, her computer talents will be needed.
She can be impulsive, but give her a chance. You'll make a good team.
She's rough around the edges, but I like her.
She struggles with emotional attachments, as many young Jedi do. Be mindful of that.
We should go. May the Force be with us all.
I'll escort you to your ships, my friends.
Before I go, I'm putting all my resources at your disposal. There's a special tactical unit in Black Sun territory. Experienced security officers who've been fighting those gangsters for months. Go to these coordinates. Talk to Sergeant Nidaljo. He can help you rescue Dr. Tarnus and get those copied data files.
All right.
You've been of tremendous assistance. Thank you.
It's been a privilege working with you. Don't underestimate the Black Sun gang. They enjoy killing, and they're good at it. Kira's on her way. I'll get her plugged into our security network before I leave. Good luck.
Okay, we gotta sell this, get some credits. Those pants aren't as good as what I'm currently rocking. Alright, that's all we needed to worry about, so let's move along. Boy, it would be nice to have a mount. Of course, there's a bad part to getting a mount too, is that if I get one and it's not quite what I was going for, well then that's its own problem altogether, because Like, especially if you're like me and the aesthetics have to make some kind of sense, and then if I got this guy and I'm like riding around on a Rancor or something like that, like it makes no sense whatsoever, and then it kind of ruins the whole thing. At least it does for me anyway. Makes me feel disconnected, and that's the biggest thing that MMOs drive me out. Slowly but surely, I tend to feel disconnected. I'm hoping that because this game is so much like KOTOR, it'll maintain as the story builds and as things happen and whatnot. That's what I'm hoping. But oftentimes, MMOs tend to drive me out.
Vehicle pads are currently open for business.
I'm gonna go down here, and then there's at least 2 pieces of mail that are new that we gotta check out. Something else. Follow the money. Retrieve stacks of Caven bills. Wonder where that happens. I didn't look at it. Didn't actually look at the mission. I just took it. Blah, blah, blah. It may sound badass, but it would take me out of it. It doesn't sound like it makes any sense for no matter how badass it may be. That's one of the things that's hurt me in later years with things like Dragon Ball Z, is that I love Dragon Ball Z, but like getting a little tired of just how much it is without a doubt the Goku show. See, citizens of Coruscant are safe thanks to you. The citizens of Coruscant also retain their faith in the system. Go. Okay. What's this? Okay.
It's a pleasure, Master Jedi. I'm Officer Stanson, Republic Security, trying to keep peace and order down here. We're fighting a war against the Black Sun. Wish I could say we were winning. Word has it they're running an illegal surgery clinic, giving wanted criminals new faces. Helps them dodge arrest.
Republic Security should end their operation.
We've tried, but the facility moves shop the second they see our uniforms. And maybe you could pay this clinic a visit. Smash their illegal surgery droids. Pull their patient files. Show them the Republic's still in charge.
Black Sun's clinic won't operate another day.
Good to hear. The sooner we shut them down, the quicker we can clean up Coruscant. Destroy the Black Sun surgery droids, then download their patient files. That's all we need to pull their masks off their criminal clients.
Alright. Got that set up. Well, power levels and everything have always been inconsistent in Dragon Ball. That's nothing that's about to change.
Take a look at the stock. What can I get you?
This guy sells shoes, and that is it.
Appreciate your business.
Item level 50. Huh. Did I use it? like I did, but I don't see that it gave me anything. Weird. Okay. Is that really it? Okay, so just this one extra thing here, and that was it.
Anything a soldier needs, some things he doesn't.
Sure. Let's go this way. This way first. Okay, so this area is where I get these stacks of money or whatever is what I'm guessing, if that's... Is that right? What is this? What is this about? Oh no, I'm moving towards the heroic thing? That's fine though, I need that. Yeah? Yeah, I am. Okay. That's fine. It's trash writing that a Jedi Knight is 15 years old. I mean, I don't understand how that works, unless you're super against it. No, I'm sorry. No, that doesn't. You can't be. I mean, I guess you could be pissed about that. Maybe in terms of how you see Jedis and things like that. Maybe you could be pissed. Here's the thing that I do know about it, though. In terms of the Jedi Knights and things like that, I want to say the book I'm reading right now says that Obi-Wan... What the shit? Why can't I thought that was the clinic. I guess you could be pissed because if you're a hardcore purist, or if you believe in all the side things and stuff, well then it basically says that Obi-Wan was a Padawan and he was like, is it 14? I literally just read it, but I'm having trouble remembering. I literally just read it. But, that story, Master and Apprentice, it says something to the effect of him becoming a Padawan at 14, but he's not going to be a knight until he's like a good deal older. Because I think in that book where I'm reading, I think they expressly say that he's 17 at that time. And Qui-Gon has to keep reminding himself that though he seems very mature, he is still a kid, so he can only expect so much in terms of understanding and whatnot at this point. So I guess it would be a little off-putting, I guess, to think that somebody like is 15 years old and has already been knighted, but I don't know exactly when High Republic takes place. I haven't read any of it. I don't know anything about it, so maybe the laws of that have changed by that time, and I don't know. I'm not sure why somebody would get all offended and call it trash writing. I'm just not sure I completely understand that. Okay, so I'm supposed to just kill 15 of their forces over here? Well, then some people need to, like, spawn out here so that I can do so. Did, like, a group run here before me and just, like, slaughter everything? Is that what's going on? I'm so very... You could make that argument that you would find it boring if they all viewed the Force the same way. And they all have slight differences in the way that they view the Force. And that's true, but even the slight differences in how they view the Force lead to intergalactic full-scale war. So, like, there's an argument to be made that maybe there does have to be a generalized concept as to what the Force is and how one would view it. Because, literally, there have been gigantic intergalactic wars fought over simple principles. It's not always Jedi and Sith. It's Jedi and other Jedi factions, and Jedi and Dark Jedi, and, like, then there's the giant Sith Wars, and then there's fallen Jedi that, you know, that run off and become their own thing, and so there is something to be said for how the Force is viewed and what kind of damage it causes when that view is out of whack. Now, I'm not saying that guy's really kind of bad. Like, there's a guy like that in Green Lantern. There's a guy who his green ring, he views it as sound. And that still works, even though that's just how he identifies it. It's very much not sound, of course, because the ring isn't sound, it's a technology, and it does what it does, and the Guardians created it, and no matter how he wants to view it, it won't change the fact that the ring is what the ring is. But that's just a difference in the way that he views it, the way his willpower interprets the power at his command. But all in all, everything said and done, he is still kind of wrong. It's not sound. Because it can't be. Because the Guardians designed it, and the Guardians made it, and it is a technology, and it utilizes the power of will, not the power of sound, regardless of how his stuff works, or how he perceives it to work. That is what's going on. There's just a couple people running back and forth, just smashing it in this area, and since I'm not like a part of their group, every time I come across something that I may be able to get something from, they're already dead. I need these people to respawn. I need to collect these money pack things. And I also need to kill 10 more Black Sun forces. And I haven't found this key yet, so I can't get into the clinic. Those guys are just standing over there waiting for respawns. Ugh. Away from the shield. Hit that guy right there. These guys don't count because I'm not in the area that it wants me to kill these guys. Ugh. Ugh, accumulation quests are never fun. They're just tedious. Okay, 2 more. Is that dude a bounty hunter? Or did he just design his Jedi like that? I think he's a bounty hunter. Oh, come on. Gotta be kidding me here. Respawn! Oh, this is ridiculous. Okay, well, they've got those. Oh man, this is ridiculous. Okay, that part is done. Now, access the Black Sun Clinic. There should be no reason I can't do it. No, it's not a laggy game. I've experienced no lag the entire time I've played it. And hell, I'm streaming even and I've experienced no lag. That's not the issue at all. Well, now it's active. Now I can go in and do this. One of them. Let's go up here. Yeah, I seen it. I almost bought it, but I just don't know anything about it, so it doesn't intrigue me like I'm hearing so many other people. It seems to be a hot topic all of a sudden. I'm hearing it, seeing it posted everywhere, and seeing YouTube videos, and I'm not sure what exactly blew it up or what made it such a big deal. But I've never exactly been thrown in by most side canon stuff, so... Oh, okay, it's doing like a continuous damage here, so that's good. I can't mess with any of the computers until I go smash this last droid. And he's on the other side of the staircase, so I should have done the other side first. Yeah. Just fine. Well, that's, I guess, cool that it's a new era, and if it actually introduces certain things. So, like, is Yoda in it? Because 200 years, Yoda's a part of the order. Unless this is a different order, different region, different thing altogether. Like, they didn't go to an era that hasn't exactly been explained. We have small details as to what was going on in that age. Because Yoda's like, I think Yoda's 800 in the Phantom Menace. I feel like if you want to tell a new era of Star Wars, if you want to show what's what, or what it becomes, you take it 1,000 years into the future, if not 2,000 years into the future, and you show me how the Jedi Society rebuilds itself from its downfall. Because they experienced a downfall, there's no way around.
Closing that clinic's a big win for Republic security and for the people of Coruscant.
But at some point, like they always do, they had to have come back into some kind of prominence. And that, to me, is 100 times more interesting than more prequel stuff. Like, it's not that I'm not interested in it. I'll check it out. But, like, that seems to be the go-to thing, is to tell prequel stuff. Prequel stuff, prequel stuff, prequel stuff. To continually latch on to the idea that this is an era and an age and a thing that you know, and that will make you want to read it, because you know it. And they're not necessarily wrong. That is a way to get people in, is to say, oh, but what about... like the book on Dooku that takes place right before Master and Apprentice, like that very much is one of those circumstances. This can activate as either one. So okay, so my knight's lightsaber is once again weaker than this one. That is happening a lot with this lightsaber that I'm supposed to be able to update and keep, you know, powerful and useful all the time. You'd imagine that just if I went out of my way and I bought the updates and upgrades consistently, that I would be just fine, but I keep finding other lightsabers that are just better than the one that I made, the one that I'm supposed to trust in. I feel like that's a bit of a game flaw. That should not be happening. Unless each hilt that you find would be fully customizable, then at some point I would understand that just, you know, at this era, maybe they just tell me that lightsabers are really more of a tool and less of a statement. But like, that knight's lightsaber is the thing that I made. It's the thing that I'm supposed to trust. It's the thing that I'm supposed to adapt and work on and build, and like, I've got all the best equipment that I can put on it right now that I seem to be able to buy from any shop. And yet, I just keep finding random blades that are better. Continuously better. I feel like that's a bit of a flaw in what I'm seeing here. And maybe that corrects itself as I start getting to a point where maybe I can buy upgrades and whatnot at a certain point that guarantee that I'm never about to see an upgrade that is, how do I put this? I'm not going to find anything better than the upgrades I can buy and make myself. Maybe you reach a point like that after a while, but I'm definitely not there right now. I'm definitely at a point where I just keep finding sabers that are better than the one it wanted me to make. I'm not fighting. What the fuck is it talking about? Yeah, but that's Legends. I get that people are mad about it, but Legends is exactly that now. It's a legend. The floor is open to tell Star Wars stories again. It's not as convoluted or as difficult to get into as it was earlier. And I'm not saying that the previous stuff was bad, and I'm not saying the previous stuff needs to be ignored either, or that it ever necessarily needed to be replaced. That's not what I'm saying. But the truth of the matter is, by deleting the continuity and opening the world back up, it's time to start telling canon stories. It's time to start addressing new ideas and new principles under the guise of the canon as it stands right now. Because the truth of the matter is, so many stories that people are connected to were told before some of the canon was even laid down in the show, and it's contradictory is contradictory, no matter how you slice it. Like, even, and I'm not saying that you know, like I said, I'm not saying that you replace everything, but like, there are new stories to be told with similar principles and new ideas. And under the stuff that we know now by current canon, because they changed it, I'm sorry, they did, Luke did not build a Jedi Order. So going 1,000 years into the future and seeing what Luke, like, because now the current story is that Luke built an order, but it failed, and then learning from that disaster, the next logical step would be to remove the Jedi Order from political landscape. Completely remove it from political landscape, and 1,000 years later, you could tell a new Star War, which sadly, this comes into how the Jedi, it's a horrible trend to go up and down, up and down, up and down, where they just keep fighting each other. But at some point, a new galactic republic of sorts is going to look into the legends of the Jedi, and they're going to say, hey, you know, Jedis were the keepers of peace in the old republic. And they're going to say, well, we can sure use some of that peace now. And if you had secluded the Jedi, because the Jedi learned 500 years ago that every time they try to build within the political system, it damages them, because that's not what they're supposed to be doing. Well, then somebody's going to come along and they're going to say, we need help. And just like years ago, the whole Mandalorian conflict that caused Revan, some of those Jedi are going to say, they're right. This is what we were. It's what we should have been building back to in the first place. So one man failed. That doesn't mean that it can't be done. It's been proven that it can be done. And then you have your dilemma. You have your set dilemma as to why certain Jedi would believe a certain thing and why certain Jedi would believe another thing. And then maybe don't even go into Sith or anything like that right off the bat. Make it two different Jedi forces, that one chooses to stay away from the political landscape because nothing good has ever come from it, while the other group decides to reunite with the Republic in the way that it used to be, to try to rebuild the legends of old. And there's your dilemma right there. It literally opens up an entire universe of possibility just to say, two Jedi, nobody's a bad guy, two Jedi believe two different things. And in so that process, that is what starts causing problems down the line. That's how you start telling new stories, is you have to break away from older content or put yourself far away into the future, because everybody's just playing in a sandbox, playing with the toys. And I get that. Like, Legends was from a prominent age of writers that very much wanted to tell stories continuing Han. They wanted to tell stories about Leia. They wanted to tell stories about Luke. There's nothing wrong with that. We've got some great Star Wars lineage out of that. Great Star Wars legends, if you will. But if you want to tell new stories, if you want to press new ideas, if you want to bring in new context, you have to step beyond the toy box. They gave you generalized toys, and they're never going to stop you from using the generalized toy box.
Republic security owes you one.
And the generalized toy box is a lot simpler than characters that already have years and 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 years of established canon and lore. It would be better, and in my opinion, more interesting. In some people's opinion, no, it wouldn't be, because you have to have that familiarity. Some people breed and live on the familiar. And they need it. They need Star Wars to be something familiar that they can understand. But 1,000 years from now, Coruscant will still exist, and 1,000 years from now, there will still be Jedi, and 1,000 years from now, there will still be conflict. But all the old conflict will be enough in the past that you could take the general concepts and build a whole new lineage around it, and you don't necessarily have to tie yourself back too hard into the history of somebody else's stuff. And that's how you tell creative, interesting, new Jedi stories, because we've pretty much done what we're gonna do in the past, in the prequels, and in the present. And even if you go 100 years back, 200 years back, 200 years forward, it doesn't reset or change enough to necessarily tell new stories that are disconnected enough and connected enough that allow you to be free. You're always tied down to hard continuity, and that's another reason that everybody gets so pissed off and everybody fights about what's good writing or what's bad writing or why this does work or why this doesn't work. If there was a 15-year-old Jedi Knight and we explained that the Padawan system has been abolished, that you go from younglings to knight, or there's something about that somehow something in the order changed over 1,000 years, you don't have to worry about people getting pissed when you say there's a 15-year-old, and you could very much establish a system in that order where so far this has worked for them. But maybe the fact that real guidance is needed is something that they can learn in that very first book, where you tell that the knight system was important, that it be earned, and that it shouldn't just be bestowed. But maybe those Jedi haven't exactly figured that out yet. Maybe the way they see the world is very different than the way that the Star Wars canon and continuity so far sees the world. You can tell bigger stories. And what about, you can adapt technology that makes the Jedi not necessarily as unkillable as they have been in the past. Not that they don't get killed, they certainly do, but like, for all the stories and shit that they tell me about how Mandalorians are so badass, I've only seen like one or two actually accomplish anything when it comes to fighting a Jedi. Now, you can tell me 100 books about a bunch of Mandalorians, and that's good and fine, but like, if the technology advanced to a place where normal people were every bit as relevant as the Jedi, that's super dangerous. And maybe there's a reason we don't tell that story as well. Maybe there is a reason. Because at that point, that eradicates the Jedi in long term, because if the normal man reaches that kind of power, then why should we believe ever that the Jedi are even needed? Or maybe that's another part to telling a future story in general, is to say that maybe the Jedi aren't wanted anymore. Maybe it has been 1,000 years, and maybe the Republic has finally learned to be self-sufficient. And when the Jedi come back, maybe it's met with a form of hostility, and the Jedi, when they're discovered, because maybe they sealed themselves away for 900 years. And then before you know it, here comes these Jedi out into the universe trying to enforce the law. But they're not the law anymore, and maybe the Republic takes issue with that, and we have an entire new story to tell. Because that could literally be the Jedi-Republic War, where the Jedi are hunted out of fear of stories long past. Because to the common person, the common everyday person, there's no Sith, there's no Jedi, there's no good guy, there's no bad guy. There's fucking space wizards, and every time space wizards have been involved, the circumstances have led to war and disaster. And maybe the Republic doesn't want shit to do with an order that comes around swinging light swords anymore. There's 100 stories you could tell by jumping forward. There's only so much you could do by sticking to the timeline we already know. At least that's the way I see it. And while I enjoy, like, I'm reading Master Apprentice, and it's really cool to see a couple years before the Phantom Menace and really get a feel for, like, how Qui-Gon was and how that relationship was working and how now the major differences come between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, and it makes me interested to read the Dooku book that comes before that to see how Dooku was dealing with it. Those are interesting things to me too. I like that shit just as much as the next guy, but I really think an important step to tell new, uninterrupted, uncontested stories is to finally put yourself into the damn future. Like the future, not like, hey, 50 years later. I don't know, I really feel like it could do a lot by moving us past all the prophecies and shit like that. Look, guys, I'm gonna sound a bit like a prick, but a Sith Lord is a Sith Lord. They don't impress me much. I get it. I'm supposed to be like, oh shit, my favorite Sith Lord, and I'm supposed to talk about like Revan, or I'm supposed to talk about like, just different things like that, like Pelagus and shit. Plagueis. Resident Evil's on my mind today. But like, in all honesty, the thing that gets me about it, and the reason I keep saying maybe it's time to jump 1,000 years up, is because there's Sith, there's Sith Lords, and they're all the same. They're all like super scary, super powerful, want to take over the universe, like Sith Lords, and they kind of get to a point where they seem very cookie cutter, and not that the Jedi aren't necessarily cookie cutter, but there's more shit that you can do with a hero, because you could tell mild, small stories about saving a small community, about helping a certain person, about unearthing some political secret or something like that, where the bad guys, at least in Star Wars continuity, like the Sith, are just super powerful, evil wizard dudes that want to, like, rule the universe. And some of them get that far, and some of them don't. And quite honestly, I think the next step to making it more interesting is to change the orders completely. 1,000 years from now, I would like to see a group of Jedi. I would like to see a group of dark Jedi. Jedi that allow emotions, that have family, that have friendships, that develop passions, but are taught to keep their shit in check. They're darker Jedi. They're prone to falling into their passions, which can be very dangerous and has been proven to be very dangerous, but they don't necessarily become Sith. They don't become evil Sith Lords. They're a different faction of Jedi that think a different way, and this has happened before, but I don't think it's been explored to its fullest, really, because factions like that would have to at some point either eradicate each other or learn to live together in some form or fashion. And it would be interesting to take a Jedi who is disconnected, who has learned to deal with certain things because he is disconnected and he is trained in a classic way, and then take a Jedi who's of a newer order, who is allowed to think and feel and love and develop passions, and has a mommy and a daddy, and isn't like abducted when they're 3 years old or some shit like that. And you could say what you want, that the Republic has basically been mind-washed to give up their fucking children. It's abduction, okay? That's what it is. And if you change the rules of 2 or 3 different Jedi societies and they all have to live together, there will be conflict between those societies. And that is intriguing to me more than a simple evil bad guy shoots lightning and is a bad guy and is fucking the dark side and know my power and blah blah blah, and there's just not a lot of difference to me. Like, Star Wars has incredibly bland cookie cutter villains to me. They're all essentially the same guy with a different name and different powers. You're like, oh, well, that guy was super powerful. Yeah, but what was he? Was he a Dark Lord of the Sith that was all evil and basically wanted to rule the universe? I mean, that's the same fucking guy from one guy to the next guy to the next guy to the next guy. Even one of the better stories that have been told visually in terms of stuff like comics and video games and whatnot was Revan, and still he pretty much later on, when everything was said and done, no matter how interesting his story is, he basically became a big dark evil lord that got a hold of the Starforge, that built an army, that decided he was going to rule the galaxy, and blah 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 blah. Like, they're cookie cutter. And I mean, I guess that works for Star Wars when its whole philosophy is good guy, bad guy. Like, that's okay, but that's what I mean. Like, they become very cookie cutter, so if I'm gonna pick, like, favorites that I can't wait to come back into canon, I don't have any. They could just tell the same story, and change the guy's name, and it'll be the same fucking thing. So, because I'm under the impression that so far in Star Wars, in terms of what we've seen in the canon and whatnot, what we've seen on television, what we've seen one way or another, a Dark Lord took an apprentice and wanted to rule the universe and took over the universe and was dethroned, and then that Dark Lord, he took over an apprentice, and he had an apprentice, and then he took over the universe, basically, and then that caused another war because he wanted to rule the universe, and then he died, and then the original guy who you thought was dead came back because he's the Dark Lord of the Sith, and now he wants to rule the universe. Get the fuck over it. Yeah, it's just a funny it's a funny scenario to me, because I do have people that I thought were really cool, but I can't avoid the fact that I've always viewed it as very cookie cutter. It reminds me of, like, The Legend of Zelda. I know that at some point Ganon is gonna come back because he's evil. There's a huge difference, I'd say, until Gundam got a little carried away with it. In the original UC, the concept of the new type was very different than, like, a force sensitive who's essentially a man who can become almost as strong as a god, and if he's left untrained, he's truly dangerous. And, like, a force sensitive is a very different thing. New types are just another stage in human evolution. They border on precognition. Their mind functions faster, they absorb information quicker, and they have developed slight psychic capability, near psychic level intuition. Some of them actually crossing the threshold and becoming psychic to the point where they can even communicate without words at different points. And then, of course, later on, they ran wild with it, and then certain guys got powers, and then the mobile suits got, like, souls and basically became magic, and all that shit kind of started losing it on me, because I'm a real mecha fan, not a super mecha fan. And even the UC started digging into super mecha when they decided that Unicorn had, like, a soul and was super powerful and was ridiculously way more advanced than anything else, and, like, his power base, like, it gets ridiculous at a certain point. But it does fall into the same kind of concept as, after a while, force sensitive people, which when we saw Luke Skywalker, he was slightly telekinetic, had some telepathic ability, but it was kept in check by the fact that in a real world scenario, a blaster bolt to his back would have still killed him. And then later on, they get more ridiculous and more ridiculous and more ridiculous and more ridiculous, because that's how you keep people interested, is instead of telling stories in more creative roundabout ways using the rules that you laid down to tell progressive stories, you play the Dragon Ball Z card because it's proven to work. Raditz was the strongest thing ever. Nappa is the strongest thing ever. Uh-oh, Vegeta is the strongest thing ever. Uh-oh, Vegeta's actually a bitch because he's literally afraid of the Ginyu Force because they're the strongest thing ever. Uh-oh, it's Captain Ginyu. He's actually the strongest thing ever. Here's Frieza. You just keep playing that card over and over and over again, and then it makes you feel like, oh, this guy's fucking sweet because he's like so powerful. Power scaling to me is not necessarily good storytelling. It's a cheap way to make the next guy seem cooler because he's so much stronger. And then you get the Superman effect after a while, where you take the guy that is super broken, Superman, and you introduce a villain, and in order to prove that the villain is a hard ass, he beats up Superman. Now we have a dilemma on our hands. Now we actually have to give a shit because this guy's super strong. It just, it is what it is. And a lot of storytelling develops this way, especially in large lineages, because you want this to be a big situation. You want it to be important. And the way you make it important is the next guy that shows up has to be a bigger threat than the last guy that showed up. Otherwise, if Palpatine had literally been able to take over the entire universe and was so broken that he could zap Star Destroyers out of the sky if he actually chose to with his frickin' lightning fingers, then the next guy you show, if he's just like some angry dictator that takes over like a planet and secedes from the Republic, and then some Jedis go there and shut him down, I guess that's a good story, but you never feel the impact because they went so far with it last time that telling a contained story like that is now kind of boring and low-key. And now Star Wars is in that problem where, like, let's say you do 10, 11, 12. Who's the bad guy? It has to be somebody that's so absurdly broken that he literally can disrupt everything that we've put together and everything that we've saved so far. He has to be dangerous. You almost can't tell a contained story in the movies anymore. It's almost bound to fail unless you remove the power struggle by saying no Jedi, no Jedi and no Sith and no Dark Jedi. This is a bounty hunter story. That's fine. That can work very well, and it's being proven to work right now. But how did they do that? They low-keyed everything on purpose, so they scaled the power back so that we can give a shit. Yeah, and I believe that, but that's also a problem with expanded universes, is, look, I know all about expanded universes from a universe that stayed fairly well consistently on screen. Star Trek. Star Trek, there's 40 years of material to watch, and after you've seen one courtroom drama, the next 70 courtroom dramas in Star Trek are just that. Oh, it's like that other courtroom drama. It gets familiar, it gets old. I gotta kick out of here. I gotta go get the dogs and whatnot. I believe my wife is on the way home, and I believe Seth is gonna be putting up his stream pretty soon. I just wanted to get on here, and I wanted to hang out for a minute. I had a little bit of spare time, and I decided to use it, but it was cool talking to everybody. Check out Seth's stream tonight if you guys are on. I may hop on there. I don't know for sure. It depends on how I'm feeling. I'm feeling fairly drained. I could very well read and go to sleep soon. Staying up till like 3, 4 in the morning for 5 days in a row and then trying to wake up at 5 in the morning really kicked my ass today. But thanks for joining me, guys, and of course I'll come back. So far this game is worth continuing.